Hey everybody, it's the Honest Audiophile. Let's raise the camera just a little bit. There we go. How is everybody doing today? Hopefully you can hear me and everything is set properly. Hopefully this time we don't have any bugaboos, but it seems like it is the uh, Honest Audiophile way of doing live streams to have things mess up. So hopefully things will work um, as planned. So, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for joining this evening. And hopefully, we will have a good time together just chatting it up about audio in general. So, um, welcome. Today was a pretty typical Saturday for me. Nothing too special. Stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then got up around 9. Drank some coffee. Um, Woke up the brain, and then went shopping and did some errands around town with the wife, and got back around 6 this evening from shopping. She spent 2 hours in Sam's Club trying to figure out what to purchase, and very indecisive. And then we drove home, and it was a good day. So yeah, nothing too exciting. I thought I would just give a live stream and see how everybody was doing. So feel free to ask your questions, place your comments, and let's chat it up. So, Josh, if you could confirm that you can hear me and that everything's working proper with a thumbs up or something, that would be great. I would appreciate that since you are the moderator. And welcome to everybody else. Any questions, comments? Yes, we can hear. Awesome. Thank you for confirming. Last time we had so many issues with volume. We actually had to restart the stream. So that's good. I was chatting to myself. And then I saw everybody's messages afterwards. A couple of people sent me the messages on Twitter. I got a couple emails and some other things. We're like, we can't hear it. We can't chat. We can't type anything in. So that was kind of funny. John Gates. I'm thinking about buying a Hibby DAP. Any experience with those? Actually, I don't have any experience with the Hibby DACs. Shanley's, Sony's. I had a Cayenne, Hi-Fi Man, and that's it so far, I believe, on DAPs. But I have not experienced any Hibbies. So I do. I would like to hear some of them, but I have not experienced one myself. Any other questions or just comments? So I did find it interesting. I did a poll asking what streaming services, and one of the more common comments was, why no Apple Music, or I use Apple Music. And just to answer that question is, I put on there all of the ones that I've used, um, and that I have experience with. I have heard Apple Music, but not enough to really say that I've used it enough to compare it to the others. And so that's the reason why I didn't put Apple on there. The other reason I didn't put Apple on it was because you only have 5 slots, and so it's kind of limited in how many choices that you can put. So that was the reason why Apple Music isn't on there. It wasn't that I was shunning them, but I don't use Apple products at all. And that's kind of a personal opinion or a personal preference of mine, and a decision that I've made. I use Apple products for work in the past, and we also use it at church to run our sound booth and things. But for me personally, as just a person, I don't use Apple products. So um, that was the other reason why. Nothing against them, but that's just my preference. I am a PC and Android person. So hopefully that clarifies that for anybody who is wondering why they weren't on there. Very quiet crowd this evening so far. Thank you for joining. And let's pull up that poll real quick. Let's see what the percentages are. I'm curious. I haven't actually looked at the percentages today. Hi, Kitty. I hear you in the hallway. All right. Let's see here. Community. So if you want to participate in that poll, it is on the community page. Currently, we've had 290 votes. The question was, what music streaming service do you think sounds best? Spotify YouTube Premium has 17%. Tidal has 43%. Qobuz has 25%. Deezer has 7%. And Amazon HD has 9%. So that's an interesting percentage. I would have thought that the numbers would have been a little bit more split up, but hey, cool. And just to give my opinion, I do think that Tidal sounds the best out of the ones that I've heard too. So I do agree with this poll, actually. Even though I would have Amazon HD above Spotify YouTube. But that's just me. All right, so we had a question that just came through here, and let's see, restore chat. And I lost the question. What happened to it? There it is. Okay, so we'll call you K. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I do apologize if I would, if it was a best headphone under $100. That's a good question. I haven't heard a whole lot under $100, and so I'm actually, to refresh my mind, I am going to go to my tier list and sort it by price tag. I do believe I know which one that would be. Under $100, I would have to go with a couple that are in the budget. One would be the Ventral Electronics Supernova, and you can change the pads on them, and apparently it becomes extremely bassy. So and like a very fun sound. With the stock pads, it's more of a neutral monitor type of sound. So the Ventral Electronics Supernova, and that's $50 on venturelectronics.com. Another one that you may be able to get, it's a semi open back, not the most comfortable, but it is a kind of a good beginner open back, and that would be the Superlux HD 681 Evo. You have to change the pads. You have to be tweaking it a little bit just because of the sound. It will sound a little muffled at first, but the 681 Evo is another solid option if you're looking for an open back under $100. But my personal pick at $100 or less would probably be the Ventral Electronics Supernova. Another one that you could kind of go with that may kind of fit in there if you want something that's planar and you can get it cheap. You could go with a Hi-Fi 400 SE for an introduction. That usually comes in around $110. It's not the greatest headphone out there, but it's a solid starter at around $110 or so, give or take. Hopefully that answers your question. What speakers do I have in my home system? Actually, in my home system, I don't have any. I do use the sound bar, and that the reason being is my wife doesn't want speakers in the living room, so I don't use speakers in that capacity. The soundbar that we have, I don't remember the model. It is a Klipsch something or other 2.1 system, or sorry, not 2.1 soundbar with a subwoofer. Here at the office, the speakers that I use are the Martin Logan 15s, and I also have a subwoofer that is kind of acting up at the moment, so I need to get a different subwoofer. But the subwoofer was a mono price. It's an 8-inch fire downfire. Um, the speaker amp that I have is a shit audio Vidar, and I use my Head MGSX Mini as the preamp going into it, and the Mytek Liberty DAC as the DAC. When is the acoustic IEM review coming out? Actually, I was thinking about that last night. I was listening to it. I do need some more time with it. I haven't had a ton of time yet to listen to it. I've had a bunch of other things going on, a lot of other reviews, but it is in the works. I can't give you a specific time, but it is coming. And there's actually 2 acoustic reviews that will be coming out. I have the planar one, which is the S6, and then I also have the R100, which is a balanced armature one. But they should be coming fairly soon. I wouldn't think that would be super delayed. Um, I do need to get those done. Has the PR1 Pro caught your interest at all? The PR1 Pro, I don't even know what it is, so I would say no. Hey, good to see you, Andrew. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate that. Yeah, KZ's latest planar. Yeah, I won't be reviewing KZ. I do not follow KZ or CCA anymore, and I have it's just a personal opinion, a personal stance of mine, not to review them anymore. Oh, just because the question will be coming, especially if Christopher is watching the stream. Tonight's coffee is actually something I've been trying, and I kind of wish I hadn't tried it. It's um, it's a concentrate that you pour in and then mix everything, and it's made by Jot, Jot. Um, it's not my favorite type of way of doing coffee. I do prefer to use, whole beans, grind them up, that thing, um, and pour overs. I do need to do an AeroPress. Somebody recommended that last stream, but this concentrate stuff, you can do it hot, cold, with ice. But it just doesn't taste the same. It doesn't taste fresh, it just, yeah, no. This isn't coffee. I know that it's made from coffee beans, but it just doesn't taste the same. You're going to ask about the coffee. See, unagi, we all think alike. So yeah, it's made by Jot. The best thing about trying them out was actually the little coffee cup that you get to choose. I like it. I like the build of it. It's like a kind of like a Yeti type of feel. The lid is different. Does have a pretty strong suction to hold the lid on, and then the straw part is actually, it's like suctions in and stays in place, and it has, I don't know, it's kind of cool. Definitely will be using the cup more often. Is it the HD 600 of coffee? No, it's more like the coffee itself. So the beverage that's inside the cup is more like in my opinion, like the monoprice retro of coffee. I don't like it. Now, do keep in mind, I do not like monoprice retros, so I don't like this coffee. Now the coffee cup, this is well built. All right, let's see. Hugs from Brazil. Thank you very much, Guillermo. Sorry about the World Cup there. Um, tough days. And I also saw Portugal went down, and England went down. So that's another rough day. Congrats to Morocco. It's going to be an interesting ending. I think France may be the team of destiny. But I guess we'll find out. Any other questions today? Comments? So, got asked about some other things that will be coming out for review. I do have sitting right up here. You can't see them on camera, but I have the Austrian Audio X60s in house, and they'll be getting a review fairly soon. A very interesting headphone. The X60, I can definitely see some old school AKG vibes to it, and I can see why it's used in the studio. It definitely is a studio sound. Then we also have anything back here? Nothing back here. Oh, one thing I do want to mention is I replaced the pads on my 8XX and I went with Deconi. For one, a lot thicker, which adds comfort, and it also adds in a little bit of sound. And I use the fenestrated pads. I like the fenestrateds. I did try the velour. The velour were a little bit too warm. The 8XXs, or I'm sorry, the fenestrateds on the 8XX add in just a little bit, and they balance out those uppers a little bit more, and the lower mid section, and that has that little bit of a dip that some people can kind of don't like that type of sound. So the fenestrateds kind of add into that. So if you do have the 8XX and you want to give something a little different, do try the fenestrated pads. I like those. Some other things to review. Let's see what else is over here on my desk. Got a bunch of IEMs in from Linsol, and a bunch more headed my way. Oracle Mark II, as you saw in the thumbnail, and we also have the Dunu Kima, the Odin Audio Witch Pro, which is an interesting IEM. I'm not sure if I'm going to review that or not. Truthier Hexa, the BASN as one, which is a planar IEM that probably nobody's ever heard of. Kiwi Ears Cadenza, the Seek Real Dawn, which is another planar. C Audio Yume 2 is in house. The Harmonic Dyne Devil. I have to touch on that for a moment. It's named Devil for a reason, and it lives up to its name. We'll put it that way. Let's see what else we got. We have the IFI Audio IDSD Signature deck amp to be reviewed, and that's about it on the old list right now. We do have a few others coming in. We have a Zen, excuse me, a Zen's Mangard top coming in. We have a couple super TFZs, the Force King and the Force 5, and there's another one coming in that package from Linsol, but I don't remember which one it is. And who knows what else is in the mail? I don't remember. So a lot of IEMs have come in. So I do want to thank Linsol for hitting me up. They were like, hey, you want to hear these? And so they dropped a big package. So that was nice of them. What amp do I use with the 8XX? I use my head amp GSX Mini, and also I use the Drop THX 1 linear, and I also use the Tor Audio Roger, but I do preamp into the Tor Audio Roger. So I use the Drop THX 1 linear. Is there a preamp out, and I put that into the Tor Audio Roger, and then you run the Tor. because the Tor doesn't quite have enough power on its own to run the 8XX, and it sounds better being a little bit preamped in. OH10, in your review, you didn't like it much. That's true. But thinking for someone who likes a V-shaped sound, would you recommend it? If you really like a V-shaped sound, it it does. Excuse me. It would do okay in a V-shaped sound. Big bass, nice and energetic up top. So yeah, it would be probably adequate for that. If you would do it, again, it was my preference mostly for the OH10, um, as to why I didn't like it. Do you have the Thea Audio Prestige? No, but I want to hear it so bad. So hopefully, when it does become available, hopefully it'll get sent over for review. So I'm hopeful on that. That looks very promising. Hey, Carmine, how you doing? And let's see, Toronto. Been to Toronto. Guillermo, you're welcome. Hope all is well. I'm doing great there, Hobby Talk. Doing good. Thanks for swinging by. Yeah, the Prestige looks like it's going to be very very promising. And it looks like it's going to be possibly Thea Audio's most neutral IEM. And I know it's going to have a hefty price tag more than likely, but it would be I think it might be worth it, but haven't heard it quite yet. I really, really do though. So if you have any connections on how to get one sent over, tell them you know a reviewer that really wants to hear one. All right, let's see. Did I miss anything? I haven't missed anything. I don't think. Um, hey, how's the western part of Canada? Is it cold up there in your neck of the woods? It's a little chilly here in Indiana. Not too bad. It was like low 40s today. A little bit of drizzly rain, some wind, um, but it wasn't anything too nasty. That's coming later next week. Yay! No problem, Rob. No worries. Calgary is freezing, but not too bad the last 2 days. Yeah, I figured because you get about middle of November up there in Calgary, and it's like everything just freezes over for you. So my dad lives just east of Buffalo, about 40 miles near where I grew up, and when that big huge storm came through, the, the way the Great Lakes work, he was kind of like in between. He still got like 20 inches of snow, but nothing like the 70 inches that Buffalo got. And, Rochester got a ton of it too. And it just kind of skirted past him. And he was like, I'm glad I didn't have to shovel all that. They're still digging out. That's craziness up there. Well, not digging out, but, it hasn't all melted. Um, Crazy. I don't miss the snow, but I never saw that amount of snow. All right, let's see here, Carmine. Dave, in your opinion, have DACs and amps for IEMs reached their limits, or are IEMs getting so much better that the source chain is now becoming more relevant? Getting philosophical. Let's see. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So, yes, IEMs definitely have improved. You get more time for manufacturers to research drivers, and the shell designs and the positionings and all the dampenings and all that kind of stuff that goes into creating an IEM. That definitely has improved. And so yes, IEMs have gotten better even at lower price points. It is kind of crazy. If you go back 2 3 years ago when I first started the channel and you listen to some of the cheaper IEMs versus some of the cheaper stuff nowadays, they just are absolutely blow out some of it. Now some of them aren't as good, but you know, depends on implementation of the tech. As far as DACs and amps, now DACs and amps also have improved. Thank you, Andrew. I do greatly appreciate it. Yeah, I need a decent cup of coffee after this stuff. Uh, Thank you very much. But yes, DACs and amps also have improved. You have improvements in chips, improvements in your op amps, improvements in the components themselves, and things like that. So, and dongles have really made a jump. If you look at what dongles were when they first came out, so like especially when they started getting forced upon us. So when all the cell phone companies and manufacturers dropped the headphone amp output, there weren't a whole lot of dongles. The dongles that you had mostly were made by the company that you bought the phone from, like Samsung, Sony, Apple, that type of thing. And so it was their own um, dongle. Slowly over time, more manufacturers have come out and started making dongles. And now we're getting massive influx of choices in the dongle world. Excuse me. I did not have a dry throat before I started. But anyways, so you know, with an influx of products becomes competition to become better, and so that improves the components that go into it. Now, which one has gotten better and made it better? I think it's kind of a mixture of both. I think that by IEMs becoming more revealing and better quality, you're starting to hear more differences in the gear. And so it's kind of a mixture of the two combined together to make your experiences better. There. That's my thinking on it. It's not one's better than the other. It's both have improved. Man. Sorry about my voice. All right, so let's see here. I saw a couple others. John Gaines, what drew you to the acoustics brand? See, it's the coffee. The coffee is so bad that it's giving me dry throat. So, about a year and a half ago, I saw a review. I can't remember who it was, but it was like a written review of the acoustics. And they said it was very good for stage monitoring. And that really interests me because that's, part of what I do is set up sound booth and things like that. So I was interested in a more stage monitor type of IEM. And so I started researching acoustic, and I reached out to them and said, "Hey, curious about your stuff." And they were like, "We'll send you something." And so they sent me the R110s, and I did a written review of them on my website. Life is too short for bad coffee and bad audio. Oh, absolutely. It's not a good mix. Anyways, so they sent over the R110s. I did a written review on my website of the acoustic R110s, and they really interested me. And I wanted to try a different model because they have the same sound but different fit. So I tried the 210s, and that's just kind of how I got hooked up. And then they finally reached out to me earlier this year, and they were like, "Hey, we're making a planar. Are you interested in hearing when we're ready?" And I was like, "I would love to hear a planar by acoustic." There's not a whole lot of planars out there that kind of have a studio reference sound, so I'm curious what you guys would come up with. And so when it became available, they sent it over. So Um, that's kind of how I got hooked up with them. It was just kind of me reaching out to them and being, hey, interested in your stuff. All right, let's see here. So to answer your question, what drew me to acoustics was that are they make stuff for studio reference sound and for musicians on stage. That's their goal. And if you read up about them, as a company as a whole, they all are musicians or in the audio engineering type of field. How's my cats? The cats are doing well. They all are sleeping out in the living room, or actually in the hallway. One of them woke up and was meowing earlier, but they've all settled down. So if they start meowing at the hall while we're talking, I'll go grab them. Let's see here. I had some Starbucks in a few minutes with my atriums this morning. Wish I had a better coffee to go with those. I don't mind Starbucks, but I do prefer other coffees rather than. But Starbucks will do for me. Um, I actually don't like regular Starbucks roast, so like I won't drink their plain stuff. If I'm going to Starbucks, I have to get flavored. I have to get a mix. I just don't like the regular roast. It has like this bitter aftertaste for me. Even though I drank it for years at the office, I can handle it, but it's not my preference. So I get it. I understand, Andrew. All right, let's see. You've got the Heidi's AP80 Pro. Oh, nice. No experience with DAPs. Any suggestions for learning it or setting it up? Um, it's pretty self-explanatory when you first turn it on. It should kind of walk you through things if I remember correctly. It should be, it'll ask you like it's like setting up a phone. It'll ask you what your language is, and it'll kind of say, "Do you want to set these up?" It's a pretty basic DAP. It doesn't have a whole lot of settings, if I remember correctly. Um, so it should be pretty easy. If I remember correctly, there's no manual in the box. Um, so you have to go on the Heidi's website and look it up if you have questions. I don't use my AP80 Pro near as much as I do my other DAPs. And in fact, I don't use my DAPs often lately. I don't know why. I'm not reaching for them as much. Um, I need to get back into them because they're really good. But anyways, the Heidi's AP80 Pro is a very good DAP. I really did enjoy it, and I do use it occasionally. But I don't remember exactly the setup process. I'm sorry. Um, ZMF should have a boutique coffee. You know what? He's got everything else. So coffee goes with audio. So yeah, Zach should start his own coffee. I don't know. Maybe he's a tea drinker. I'm not sure. So coffee and tea, um, might be good. It would be. You know what? That would be interesting if there were if there were some uh, like manufacturers or vendors that were like, this is our specific brew or roast or whatever that we like to drink while listening to music with these headphones on. Kind of like, you have the wine connoisseurs who will, you have to use this wine with this type of food, this type of thing. Why not do it with coffee? You can do it with other things. It'll work. Yeah. Maybe I'll start my own company doing that. Hmm. Hmm. Or I could start another YouTube channel where we pair that up. I have too much work. All right, so let's see here. Get a SD card of 512 gig at least and fill it up with songs you like. Absolutely. That's a very good start for having a DAP. Yeah, you have a 512 gig delivering with it. Awesome. One thing about that, if I remember with Heidi's, it's most things you have to format it. Heidi's was kind of frustrating in the process. If I remember correctly, with the AP80 Pro, I had to do it several times. So like I would format it and then transfer the files, um, and it wouldn't play. It would say it wasn't available. So it took several attempts. So whatever the directions say, really pay attention to them, because I think I was in the kind of like, oh, I know how to do this. you know, typical man. I know how to do this, and so make sure you really follow those instructions, because I had to go back to the manual and figure it out and get it done. So, make sure you do that. All right, let's see here. Playing our IEMs definitely were the rage of 2022. Totally agree with that, Carmine. What do you think of the 2023 will bring? Think a pliable body on the IEM that gives a near custom fit, unless the driver technology goes through another revolution. I actually think that planars are going to continue. I think you're going to start seeing more planars in the budget side of things. They're going to start getting a little cheaper and easier. You're going to see some more implementation. But I think the next step with planars is you're going to start seeing multi-driver planars, and you'll start seeing hybrids with planars. You already have Planamics, which is kind of a planar with a dynamic ring on it. But you're going to start seeing other things, like kind of like you tried with the i3 Pro, where you have a dynamic and then planar for the mids and then BAs for the treble. You'll have different mixes of things. I think that's the next step in the planar war. Would be probably something like that. I also think another thing will be is you're going to start seeing some manufacturers. It might be a little bit more of the boutique stuff, but they might start stepping away from Knowles, and they'll start going with Sonians, and you'll start seeing more Sonian BA and Sonian EST type stuff coming out. All right, let's see. Uh, um, ZMF coffee is a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Audio coffee of any kind, or tea if you're into the tea thing. Let's see. Did buy the Heidi's AP80 Pro for the price of admission and your review. Awesome. Well, I'm sure that you'll enjoy it. It's your first one. They come in handy, especially in the portable side of things. Plus the AP80 Pro, you can use line out into other devices, amplifiers and stuff. So I do look forward to see what you think of it. Let's see. You like the Tempotech V6 DSP? It's about $400, I guess. Performs close to a 600, 700 DAP. I haven't heard that one yet. I've heard a lot of people talk about it though. I'm very curious about it, and would love to hear one. DAPs are kind of hard to review. I'll be honest. They're they're unique, and they do all the, everything. It's just hard to explain and to cover everything. It's not my favorite thing to review, truthfully. LZ 2023 KZ will step into the game with tons of planar drivers and IM like with BAs. Um, I, as I've said, I'm not gonna review stuff because of their shady businesses, practices, and marketing and things like that. Until they prove otherwise, that they are doing it ethically and that they're doing it honestly. And it wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Let's see. Oppo already has a True Wireless has planar and dynamic. I use the True Wireless, a really good TWS, and sounds something like $70, $80 IEM. Um, yeah, Oppo before making smartphones were an audio company. They definitely were. They made some really good headphones actually, and some very good DACs and amps. They were kind of pricey, but they had a very if you can get your hands on it, it's still viable today. If you can find one, use Oppo H3. It sounds fantastic for a portable DAC amp. Yes, OnePlus is part of Oppo. That's the reason why I like my OnePlus phone. It's an Oppo. I can't afford Oppo phones. Those things are expensive. All right, let's see. Have the Martin Logan Ascentes. They are full-size planar electrostatic crossed with a sub. Fantastic speakers. Um, but IEMs, hmm, it would be interesting. There are some IEMs that have electrostat, some electrostatics of some kind. I think Martin Logan made a headphone. I think, but were they one of the speaker companies made a headphone? I think maybe. Um, be interesting to see if they can cross over some things like that. More than likely, you'd have to maybe either go the EST or Pizio type of way with a planar. More than likely in an IEM. Um, be interesting. HD, you got to hear a hot. Yeah, those things are great. Uh, Carmine, I was at the Toronto Audio Fest recently. Very nice. And it struck me that with all the mega buck systems there, it all depends on your hearing. I had my hearing recently checked, and have I? No, honestly, I haven't. It's been a little while since I've had my hearing checked. I will be honest on that. But yes, you're right. It does kind of depend on your hearing. Also, another thing that really is a key component is how they implement things. And with the mega buck dollar stuff, yeah, some of them sound great. Some of them don't sound any better than some of the stuff that is sitting on my desk. So it just kind of depends. And honestly, as a as a human, you only hear from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, and as music flows, if you look at where instruments chart in the frequency response, really anything over about 15K is not really that important, to be honest. And that's why the main mids and the upper mids are where your focus are. It's what we hear on a regular basis throughout the day. So, and it's where vocals, instruments, and normal sounds reside. So, um, yes, hearing's important, and obviously you don't want to have somebody that only can hear 10K, but I'm not to that point. Last time I did have it checked, I was able to hear at about a little over 16, right around-ish 16K for a 47-year-old. Okay, let's see. What do you think of the 8XX? I did a review of it, and the 8XX I love. It's a fantastic headphone. Personally, I like it a little bit better than the 800S, but I have heard an 800S directly comparing. So that's, take that as a grain of salt. But the 8XX to me has a little bit more fullness to it, has a little bit more warmth, natural sound. And even though it's not as spacious and maybe not quite as technical as an 800S, to me, the 8XX is the more pleasurable, but still is very revealing and very good resolving, just like the 800S is. I prefer the 8XX over it. Let's change the pads to the Coney Fenestrateds. Personal hearing is key to all audio before equipment. That's why you need to find a reviewer that sounds like you, if you can. Absolutely. Um, and we're all built different, and we're not created equal. Everybody has different shapes of ears. Everybody has different designs of your ears. Now you have all the same, bits going in and stuff, but it's shaped different, and that funnels in sound differently. And so we all do hear things slightly differently. But a lot of us hear things similarly. So, you do need to find a reviewer who does kind of agree with you, but you also want to hear um, different opinions also so that you can formulate your own opinion. But yes, absolutely. You have to understand what somebody is hearing and why and where and all that kind of stuff, um, in order to understand a review. And there's a lot of variables that go into your listening experience, type of room that you're sitting in, the type of dampenings that are in it, the shape of it, whether you have a domed ceiling or a flat ceiling, or carpet on the floor, wood on the floor, concrete, whatever. There's all kinds of things that will interpret that. And then there's what gear you're using, what recordings you're using, the quality of the recording that you're using. There's all kinds of things that go into a review, and also your personal and also the other thing that's important to understand is what is the background of the person. Where do they make their determination and understanding of what neutral is, what natural is? What experiences do they have in life? Have they sat in places and heard recordings, so they understand what a real instrument sounds like in certain settings? Because that's also important to understand. Because if somebody, let's say a reviewer, let's say myself, only listened to electronic music and and digitized music, and I never listened to an acoustical instrument, and then I review something and I say, hell yeah, this sounds like accurate and true, and you listen to it and it's not, and you're going, why is he saying such and such? You have to understand that the only music I've ever listened to is, you know, my electronic music, and I'm listening to it on these speakers in a room that's made of concrete or something. That makes a huge difference. So you have to understand the situations and the whole experience of a reviewer, and that's on me, as a reviewer, to explain that and to help you to understand where I'm coming from and why. All right, let's see here. Do you think budget headphones in 2023 will be more competitive like IEMs? Headphones are very slow movers, and they don't come out as often. But will budget ones come around? I think there are some companies that are starting to invest in that. You see, Hi-Fi has started to invest in that. Sennheiser has dabbled a little bit in it. You've got companies like Sivga that has started to dabble down there a little bit, and some other manufacturers out with some cheaper stuff, not quite exactly $100 ranges, but a couple $100. Um, so I do think that they're starting to invest in that. Yeah, I would like to start seeing some more of the boutique manufacturers also dabble in that. That would be nice. But I don't think it'll ever explode like an IEM, mainly because IEMs are a little bit easier to pop out on a regular basis, and by by the budget crowd. Um, so I think headphones will always be a little bit slower, take longer in development, a little bit more expensive for the manufacturers and things like that. But we might start seeing some more competitive ones there, hopefully, because we have been kind of stuck with the same old for a while. It seems like. Carmine, 2020 in an ideal world, I have shooter for over 4 decades. Oh wow, cool. And getting into senior years, HF roll off and the occasional tinnitus. Exactly. I mean, it does happen, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just part of life. Um, and understanding where instruments and vocalists and stuff reside in a frequency will help you to understand that you don't necessarily need to boost the high end up way above 15K to hear treble, because that's not treble. That's air, that's decay, and that's resonances and reverbs and things like that we actually you don't really hear in the real world. So if you understand how instruments and vocalists and things like that actually play, on a frequency, you'll understand why a little bit of roll offs here or there really don't impact the sound as much, and it still sounds natural. Hey, Art Keys. All right, let's see here. Kirk, I'm 60 and still sensitive to high frequencies, so listen to lower volumes. This is why I do prefer the Harman curve. It imitates my old loudness buttons on the old Pioneer and the like. Receiver, totally understand that. Um, yeah, I mean, there's the old loudness button. That was a pretty cool little feature back in the day. I am 47. I'm not a spring chicken either, and I am probably one of the older um, reviewers on YouTube. I'm just guessing. I don't know all the ages of everybody, but a lot of them seem to be a lot younger than me, and I think understanding that you still have quality ears and you don't need to have perfect hearing in order to be a reviewer. You just have to understand how frequencies work, how sound works, and I can still hear high frequencies. Can I hear them as well as I could when I was 10 years old? No, but yeah, I still hear it. Thank you, Kirk. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kindness, and you're very welcome for the time and effort that I put in. Um, so yeah, I mean there's a lot of talk that comes about, but with somebody who has gray hair, um, and is above 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 years old can't hear anything, and that's why they buy all this stuff because they become, and it's like no, no, not at all. Um, Let's see. The room is an overlooked component of a speaker driven audio system. Headphone less so, and IEMs not at all. Um, well, actually, some IEMs do get affected by that, like the open backs. You can get a little bit of a influx from the sound that surrounds you. Hook X's and things like that. Some of those open backs are starting to come around more frequently than they used to. There are some of the semi opens and stuff. So I think IEMs can get a little bit of influence. As far as speakers, definitely the room does impact. And I think that a lot of times there's a big difference in, like, if you watch speaker reviews, especially if something that's really prominent and gets a ton, I mean, thousands of reviews or hundreds, you'll see some differences. Well, this is a little warmer. This is a little warm. This is V-shaped. This is this. That they will explain it a little different. And there's so many different things. Number one, what amp are they using? What decks are they using? But two, how is the room set up? How big is the room? How deep is it? Is it more? Are they sitting, this way, or are they sitting this way? That type of thing. The speakers really depend on your room setting. You can take a set of speakers, even if it's just a little desktop setup, and you can take it into all of the different rooms in your house, and you can play them at the same levels, have them set up looking at the same way, and it will sound different. Let's see here. So that's a very good point, and it is often overlooked. At least I still have hair. Yeah. Actually, all most of my uncles on my mom's side do not have hair. And they did not, and they all lost it by the time they were like 21, 22 years old. So, yes, I'm thankful that I didn't take after that. I do like hair. It is getting thin though. Right here, you can really start seeing it. I have a spot in the back, so I'm gonna have one of those roundabouts, and I don't know what you call it when it starts to go receding hairline type of thing. Um, I have already vowed. My wife doesn't like the idea, but I've already vowed that I am going to do the Gene Katie comb over. Just because we live in Indiana, Gene Katie is Purdue. We live about 40 minutes from West Lafayette, and so Gene Katie is the man in West Lafayette. So I am going to do the comb over thing. You have to in Indiana. If you don't know who Gene Katie is, look him up. He was a longtime coach of Purdue before Matt Painter. All right, let's see here. Art keys. I'm getting into audio here. I actually think of luxury you think of something that you do or use once a year or something like that. But with audio, you use it every day. Absolutely. Um, Audio's very different in that way. Like, when, for example, if you have a luxury watch, um, you may only have one, so you may wear it every day. But a lot of watch collectors have several, and so they'll like rotate them. They won't use them every single day. Um, Headphones is kind of that way. You have your premium luxury headphone or IEM speakers, and you listen to it every day, and you use it every day, and just like a watch, or you might have a couple extra. And so that's kind of the way I look at it. It's more like that. Whereas luxury stuff like cars, a lot of times if you have a luxury car like a prize sports car, um, it sits in your garage or in storage for most of the time, and you might break it out, as you said, a couple times a year to drive around on a nice day, perfect day. Sun has to be at a certain height, has to be a certain temperature, nobody on the roads, that type of thing, in order to drive it. That's the reason why I drive a Honda Civic. All right, let's see here. You should love your gray hair because you could be like me. You have none. Yeah, absolutely. I do love my hair. Not in like this, not like that. But I'm thankful that I have hair. I wish I could grow a better beard though. Okay, let's see here. I'm trying out different things here. Speakers. I have a pair of keyless IEMs, and I'm trying to get my hands on a 6XX. So that's cool. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to do it. Get yourself a nice pair of desktop speakers, and then get yourself a good pair of headphones, something that really focuses on the mids. I think that's a very good starting point for most people. When you're looking for getting into audio and you want to know what a neutral and natural sound is, a Sennheiser is a really good start, especially because they focus on the mids and they focus on tone and timbre being natural. And then IEMs, you should look at something along those lines too, or if you just want to get a fun pair, depends on what you're going to use it for. But I think that's a good way to do it, is to start simple, but with good quality at the same time. You don't have to be extravagant, and jump in and buy the $1 million product, but buy something that is quality product and will give you quality sound. You collect watches and knives. Awesome. Yeah, I have watches. Nothing like spectacularly huge and expensive, um, but I do have a watch collection. Don't really wear them anymore. I got my Samsung smartwatch, and I never wear my watches anymore. Um, Knives. I only use knives in the kitchen and to open up packages. I That's one thing I've never really gotten into is knives. Quick question: when did you get into audio and how? I always like to ask people that. Well, I've been in audio pretty much my whole life. My family, my dad was a preacher, and my mom played the piano and the organ at our church, and so I was always around it. I always heard it as a kid. When I was a teenager, my dad left the church and became a traveling evangelist, and so we changed churches, and we did a puppet show, um, in program that we did, and I actually helped to record the puppets recordings, because we didn't do it live speaking, we actually did. So I helped to produce that and recorded that, and then when we were home, at our home church, I would help run the soundboard with the guy there, and I learned how to do it. And so I just kind of learned how to do it since I was about 13 years old. Been doing audio in that regard, um, and been dabbling with soundboards and amateur work ever since. And then headphone wise and IEMs, I didn't really get into until I was actually older adult. I always just used cheap stuff for the longest time, and then whatever the church had, which was usually something like a Sennheiser 280 or something like that, or a Sony MDR. V6 or CD 900s, things like that. And then once I got older, I started to invest and purchase little gear, and then I started up my channel. All right, let's see. If it's a Timex or a Rolex or a Philip Petit, they all do the same basic functions. Absolutely. Some of them have a little bit extra stuff added in. Um, but styling, mechanical functions, personal style, the same thing in audio. Here, baby. So am I. Those beautiful watches. I'm actually not as much of a fan of Rolex. I mean, I'm more of a Patek Philippe. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. I never say it right, but anyways, their brand, their styling. I also have been looking at um Christopher Ward. I've been like really enamored by them for a couple of years. I want to purchase a Christopher Ward. Um, I like a more simplistic type of watch face, and Christopher Ward just like calls to me. I haven't decided on exactly which one I want yet, but I think if I do purchase a watch, um, for the times that my Samsung's not on there on my wrist, I'm thinking it's gonna be a Christopher Ward. That's really cool. I'm trying to learn guitar from my church. You played clarinet for a while now. Cool. My wife plays clarinet. She's played clarinet probably now for about 30 years. She played it in high school. My wife plays a lot of instruments, actually. She plays clarinet, saxophone, flute, piano, violin. Um, so, yeah, my wife's very gifted. So that's cool. I think it's really cool to hear instruments that you all play and things like that. That's pretty cool. What would you say I should do to experiment and find out what my tastes are? That's kind of a trial and error. So try different types of music. That's the easiest thing. Listen to all kinds of genres of music, whether or not it's actually something that you really do enjoy. You never know, and don't just listen to it once. Actually, do try it. Try different artists in genres of music because some artists are good at, some aren't. So, um, experiment in that. Listen to it. Also, try um, different gear as you go along, but find something that is not really coloring the sound, so to speak. So, like, find something that's more neutral. So, whatever you consider to be the baseline of how music should sound. So, if you hear a note on your guitar or a note on clarinet and you know what it's supposed to sound like in real life, try to find gear that matches that. And then as you listen, it will you'll find your niche as to what kind you like, whether or not you are more uh, a V-shaped fan, Harman fan, or diffuse field, or more neutral, um, like I am, or things like that. But experiment and try things, and kind of understand how graphs work and how that you can read one and understand what you're looking for in a sound. Even though a graph doesn't tell you the whole story, graphs aren't going to tell you exactly how something's going to sound. They're going to give you indicators of how a sound will be. So if you do happen to start liking something that's more neutral, you're going to know that you're not going to want something with tons of peaks up top and in the bass and things like that. So it's kind of a trial and error and experimenting, but listening and learning how to listen to something and also at the same time know whether or not and discern it back and go, that's what it hears like in real life. Look for a natural reproduction of the sound. Let's see. Gotta sign off for now. Thank you, Andrew, for coming by. Great to see you. And the folks in the chat. Absolutely. And let's see. If I win the lottery tomorrow, I'd get some nice portable recording set up and visit churches in the southern U.S. and in the inner cultures and record powerfully inspiring music, food for the soul. Sounds like a great plan. Um, and I would love to do that. And actually, I like recordings like that, where it's just a couple simple microphones set up, and you have a stage setting going on, and letting the regular acoustics of the auditorium or the hall, or wherever you're at, um, being recorded, build the stage, and you just hear all of that's going around, and it's like you're sitting in there, and you're in place. I love those type of recordings, binaural recordings, or a recording that's so well done that you forget that there's any recording gear that went into it. It just makes you forget about all that, and all you hear is the music. Uh, when If I were to record something for a, in that setting, I would do it similar. I would set it up so that you get the full ambiance of the setting, and that it sounds natural and accurate. Now, a lot of people might be like, "Man, it doesn't have enough of this or enough of that," but if the right systems, and with being played back, it would just come alive, and that's the way I would like it. I love Chesky Records. The way that they record things, it just sounds crisp, natural, and accurate, and instruments just come through like they do in real life. They don't sound over dampened. They don't sound over processed. They sound. All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? I appreciate everybody coming by. And if you're enjoying the live stream, don't forget to give a thumbs up. I understand if you have to give a thumbs down, but really hope you don't have to. Um, I also appreciate everybody donated. Thank you very much for all that. And I'm going to, because my throat is like really bothering me, I think I'm going to start wrapping it up here, maybe in half hour or so. We'll see. But Chesky Records and Lyle Lovett are phenomenal live recording. Oh yes, absolutely. Lyle Lovett has a very unique presentation, anyways. But then Chesky Record ones are awesome. Have I tried the KZ ATE and ATR? Nope, and I won't. KZ and CCA are not something that I'm interested in reviewing um, at this time. But good question, Dwayne. Yeah, there's I can't remember the name of the album, but Lyle Lovett's latest one, something about Tuesdays, Tuesday the 12th, maybe something like that. That's awesome. That's a really good recording. I really enjoy it. I like Lyle Lovett a lot. I like his presentation. It's just like a different approach. It's like he's telling a story while singing to you, instead of just singing to you. He's actually like very emotional in his presentation. I like that. What technical aspects do you find the most important? Sound staging is your choice. I actually lean for tone and timbre and actual and detail retrieval and resolution. And when I'm saying detail retrieval, I don't want like every single little thing. So I don't want somebody who is, scratching paint off the wall, unless that's actually part of the recording. But if they're just sitting there picking at the back of the chair in front of them or something, don't need to hear that. I don't need that much detail. I want accurate detail of the actual instruments and vocalists involved in the recording. And then I want them to be resolved properly. I want them to be refined and defined so that I can follow them in the recording and place them correctly. So soundstage is good, but tone and timbre is extremely important to me. I want instruments to sound proper, and I want voices to have body to them, and I want them to have the accurate reproduction. Now, I haven't heard every single artist in real life, so you can't say they're 100% just like they sound in real life, but I do want them to sound realistic, and to have a life to them, a body to them, and sound like they're a person and alive. So tone, timbre, detail retrieval, and resolution. It has to be really good resolving. That's what I look for. Soundstage, imaging, hearing, that type of thing is also very important. But the other ones kind of take first priority, and then soundstage and all that is secondary. A bit smaller of a soundstage. I know some people really don't like a closer stage. I don't mind a closer stage. Probably the reason why I like 600 so much. Dwayne, the reason why I don't review KZ and CCA products is just because of their business practices, and the way that they have approached their marketing and things like that. And until they prove that they have changed their ways, I'm not going to review KZ and CCA. Just my personal opinion and the stand that I'm taking. Favorite open back headphone? Now that is a good question. Any price point? So in any price point, my favorite open back headphone would be the Odyssey LCD5. The second one, we're going to go, let's say $2,000 or more, would be the Rawson Rad Zero. So you have the Rawson Rad Zero, then the LCD5. But LCD5 is my favorite all time. Below Rawson Rad Zero, it becomes a little bit muddled. Aria Stealth, probably. And then you would go down to, you have the 8XX, Ananda, and all kinds of others. And it's kind of like, but my overall favorite would be LCD5. That's a good question, but it was not really that hard. Ask me close back, then I'm gonna struggle. So close back, close back, I would have to go with the Ether C, from Dan Clark. Um, then the Odyssey LCDX. Sorry, LCD, too close, not X. Um, LCDX is open back. Okay, so my favorite 8-track player. um, hmm. When 8-tracks were around, we the only ones that we had were in a car. No, I take that back. My dad did have one, um, in the big stereo system in the house. There was one built in along with the turntable and all that. But I don't remember the model. Um, so yeah, it was whatever one was in my dad's car. That thing rocked. All right, so let's see. Recommend a budget amp for headphone. Yeah, drop THX one linear. Um, when available, that's the best amplifier you can get for $200 or less. If it's $300, the 789 is still very viable. Amplifiers are kind of a mixed bag for me in lower price points. $100 price point, you could go with the Sabotage A10H. That thing's pretty good. Let's see what else. You could go with a Gishelli Labs Archel. You could either get the 2.5 Pro, or if you want balanced, you could go with an Airish. Both of those are very exceptional also. Those are probably about the best budget amps, but you're looking between $100 and $200. I would stick with the drop options or the Gishellis over everything else, but the other ones I mentioned aren't bad. All right, let's see. I saw some more questions here. Is the Meze MP still your end game? No, that would be the LCD5. Empyreans are still up there though. I really do enjoy them. I did have to sell get the LCD5. Um, but I still like the Empyrean a lot. Still recommend it a lot. One of the best headphones I've ever heard. For a more natural sound, very good tone and timbre, and a exceptionally good soundstage with imaging. It's a special headphone. Really like the Empyrean and uber comfortable. Probably the most comfortable headphone I have worn. Besides the 8XX. Um, and LCD5 is not too far behind me on those in comfort. Dwayne, I understand these are older model KZs that sound great in my experience. Hidden gems before recent QC business practice controversies. Ah, gotcha. I don't think I've ever heard those KZs. Yeah, the realistic console stereos with the 8-track and suspension turntable and built-in speakers rock. I'm not sure if the one that my dad had um was a realistic or not, but it may have been. Something tells me it was a Pioneer, but it was the big, huge console had speakers in the front and all that kind of. It was a pretty cool system. Had a stereo in it too. Yeah, I mean, it had everything. You wouldn't even know it was a stereo except you saw the speakers on the front. You lift the lid and everything was in there. It was kind of cool. Let's see, Lori, you're not old. I started listening to my parents' 78s. Oh, 78. Ooh. Anyways, you listen to 78s before the 33 and a thirds. In my opinion, 8-tracks were the worst since I was a young. They weren't that great, actually. I agree. I was relegated to turn the records over. I remember that well, since you're young, since you're the youngest. You know what? Actually, I'm the youngest. I'm trying to remember. Did I have to turn the records over? It wasn't enough of a thing where I was forced to do it. So, but I listened most of the time. I actually listened by myself. As a kid, I loved sitting in the living room, and I'm a pacer, so I would turn the record on, and I would walk around the room. I'd sit for a moment, and then get up and walk around the room. Um, but I don't remember if it was when we had family sessions, if I was forced to get up and change and flip over the vinyls. I don't remember if I had to do that. But I am actually the youngest child of three. I have two older sisters. Let's see. Beyond the Kato, what would be your favorite IEMs under 200? Well, you've got the P1 Max. You've got and there's a lot. Katori Dauntless. You have the acoustic R110s. Let's see what else you got. I'm probably forgetting a bunch. Sure S12. um, the Audio Elixir is on sale under 200, so that one probably counts. Plus, it's only $210. Um, so many on that list. Let's see what else we got. I'm trying to remember everything. That's fantastically good. Oh yeah, Dunu Titan S, Tin Hi-Fi T3 Plus. You've got the if you want a fun sound, you got the BQ EYZ Topaz. That thing was kind of cool. Um, for a bass C, you got the Tri-Meteor, Etymotics ER2SC and 2XR. All right. Enough of those. You can look at my tier list. But yeah, I've got all kinds of favorites in there. But the Kato is still kind of the king, so to speak. A great Christmas holiday season to you and yours, and look forward to seeing what 2023 brings. Going to chill out with I Go Blue and you may Midnights. Take care. Hey, you have a good night. Thank you for swinging by. And we'll be closing up shop here in a little bit also. Let's see, Lori, we didn't get a TV till I was 7. You were also the antenna mover. Now that I was. In fact, when you get the snow and because we kind of lived in between markets. So where the house that we were at was kind of like equal between Buffalo and Rochester. And so depending on which way the wind was blowing or, the clouds and all that, some channels would come in, some wouldn't. And if you go and put your hand on the antenna, it would come in clear. Yeah, I was that, hey, Dave, go stand over there. Oh, don't move. And it didn't matter if, I couldn't see the TV, but they all could. So, but I was the little static antenna thing or whatever that did for the putting your finger on to make it come in clear. Same to you, Carmine. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to y'all. You mean, yeah, all 3 channels exactly. And if the president was on, forget it. You weren't watching your favorite show. Let's see. Yeah, Timeless can be had for about $200 now. That's true. Dwayne, you're welcome. Let's see. Channel changer. Yes, you had to change the knob, and then you had the secondary knob for the UHFs, and you had to get it perfect. And if it was a little snowy, you could turn it a little bit. Volume changer too. I also was. Didn't matter. Hey Dave, I can't hear it, or it's too loud. Turn it down. Every time a commercial would come on, commercials were louder, so you had to run up there. I was glad when they came out with remotes, and then it was only 2 button. Click, click, and off. Change the channel. Let's see. Do we have anything else here? Favorite wax cylinder player? I actually never heard that term. What is a wax cylinder player? I'm old, but I don't remember that one. Or is that a new thing? It was tough getting through the shag carpet. That is true. You could get the. You have to shuffle your feet, and it would mess things up. But speaking of watching TV with my dad, bless his heart if he's watching tonight, Dad, I love you, but you have to stop the habit that you've been doing for 70 years, and that is he taps his foot while he's sitting there watching a show. I don't know if it's impatience because he wants to know what happens at the end of the movie, or he's nervous for what's going to happen. Maybe he's, contemplating what's going to go on in the football game. Who knows? But he just sits there and just taps his foot, and then you can just, drives me nuts. So you've been doing it for 70 years. You can quit now. Surely you can quit that habit. Anyways. Any last questions here? I'm going to wrap up. My throat's about to give out tonight. So I do appreciate everybody enduring me and listening to my stupid stories about my dad floor. So any other questions, comments, concerns, anything like that? I appreciate everybody that swung by and the donations tonight. Thank you very much. And it's been fun. Little chat here. I do like getting together with the community and talking about 8 tracks. So, all right. Happy holidays, Dave and your family. Thank you very much. Same to you, Dwayne. And I do greatly appreciate it. Well, I'm not sure if I will have another live stream before Christmas or New Year's. Probably maybe. I'm not gonna promise. I'll see what we can do. I have some time off, so um, we'll see how things go in the schedule. The dongle you reviewed yesterday, you didn't compare it to very many others. Please expand. Um, well, it's in a different price point. You know, it comes in at $150. The S9 Pro from Heidi's is the same price tag. That one it will get compared to. They are very similar. You have a few different technicalities. As far as some of the others, if you took the periodic audio rhodium, which is you like a lot, take that rhodium and make it better, but have that same kind of sound signature where it's more neutral. That's kind of the audio engine DAC 3. It's a very neutral sound, very natural sound, but it has just enough of the warmth and body, but it's a little bit bigger and a little bit more refined. That's the way I would look at the DAC 3. And I truly do love it. It's a fantastic DAC amp, and it's got more power. Let's see. Dongles, we do have a few more that are going to be getting reviewed. Heidi's XO, Heidi's S9 Pro will be coming up. FC4, I do believe, has a little bit more power. As I said in the video, they don't mention the exact milliwatts out, and I couldn't find any of that measurement. But it does have the DAC 3 does have a little bit more output impedance. Than the I do believe. So that kind of changes the game a little bit. I find that both are very good. It's more comparable to the FC4 on balance. So the FC4 is balanced, which makes the DAC 3 a little interesting because it's single-ended only. But I'm not I'm not 100% sure. I'm just off of my ears as far as power. But they do seem to be fairly close. So the FC4 may be just a little bit more, but the output impedance makes a little bit of a difference. But it definitely has more power than the periodic audio. I do know that. And as I said earlier, dongles have really, really improved. They have made big leaps and bounds. Oh, another one that I have in is the Venture Electronics Abigail. Well, it's not actually Venture Electronics. It's not Venture Electronics, but another brand, but it's Abigail. I do have that one in as well. And that one is the 4.4 balance version. So, but anyways, dongles have really improved, and they are starting to change the game a little bit as far as portable life. And you're able to kind of disconnect from using a headphone out on your phones now, and getting better experience through the dongles, which wasn't always the case before. So, anyways, happy holidays to everybody. As I said, maybe another live stream by the end of the year around Christmas, New Year's. Not 100% sure yet. We'll wait to see what schedule is. And I do thank everybody coming by and suffering through with my dry cough and sore throat issues this evening and the nasty coffee. And we will catch you on the next time. Oh, wait, one more question. Is the OG Ananda worth it for $400? I've been into IEMs and I'm considering trying to open back. Yeah, $400 for an OG Ananda is a pretty good deal. It is still worth it. I have not heard the Ananda Stealth, so I do not know the comparison on that. But yeah, the OG Ananda is a very good headphone. For $400 is a really good deal. So thank you very much for everybody swinging by. Appreciate the comments, the laughs, and the talk. And we will catch you on the next time. And you all have and thank you very much. Bye.